Hey guys, welcome to another video from CodeEdX. In this video, let's try to understand what the heck is SSH. If you are a cloud engineer, working on any cloud, be it AWS, Azure or GCP, you must understand what is SSH, because if you want to connect to any remote server, then you must connect to that remote server using SSH, right? And that is where, if you are a cloud engineer, or even if you are a developer or some support engineer, you have to understand what SSH is and how it helps you to remotely connect to a computer, right? Now, SSH stands for Secure Shell. It is a cryptographic network protocol used for securely accessing a remote computer or server, right? So let's imagine that you want to connect to this remote server and perform some operation on this remote server from your laptop. Then the way we can do is by establishing a SSH connection, and SSH connection helps you to securely connect to this remote server, right? Now, one of the basic way to connect to a remote server is using the username password. I think we all have seen that. Like, if you want to SSH onto a remote server, you can just pass your username and password, and you can just SSH onto the remote server. Now, this is not the recommended way. You should never use your username password to connect to a remote server, and that is there on the cloud, because cloud is something that can be easily hacked if you are trying to connect using the username password. Yeah, if you are connecting to a remote server that is on-prem, that is already protected by your organization, that's fine. I would still not recommend someone to connect using the username password if it is a production server, because your password can be easily hacked using a brute force method if it is not a strong password, right? So it is not the recommended method. So then you might ask, what is the recommended method, right? So the recommended method to connect to a remote server is using the SSH key. Now, what are SSH keys? SSH keys are nothing but basically a key pair, and it basically contains a private key and a public key. Now, you can generate this SSH key pair using many open source tools like OpenSSL, PuTTY, or SSH Keygen. These are some of the popular tools. With the help of this, you can generate this private key and the public key. And even on AWS or the other cloud platforms, you can actually generate these keys from the from the console itself, right? So if you go to AWS console, you can generate this key pair. So what is the use of this key pair, right? So what happens is, the private key is something that is stored on the user computer. So the private key, you can store it on the user computer, and the public key is stored on the remote server. Okay, so we have two keys. One is stored on the the private key is stored on the user's laptop or computer, and the public key is stored on the remote server. Okay, so now how these two keys helps us establish a secure connection, let's try to understand that. So what happens is, the client, basically when it tries to SSH onto a remote server, the remote server basically generates a random number and encrypts that random number with the help of the public key, right? So the random number is encrypted with the help of the public key, and then this encrypted key is shared across with the client, right? So the client then gets this encrypted number, and with the help of this private key, the client would then decrypt this number, and if it is having the actual private key, it would be able to decrypt the number, and then that number would be shared back to the remote server, and then the remote server would match this two number, the actual number and the number that the client has sent back, and if it matches, then the connection is established and it will allow you to SSH onto the remote server. Okay, so I think now you would be able to appreciate the importance of this private key. So that is why you should never share this private key with anyone, because if you share this private key with someone, then they can just pretend it to be you and log in onto this remote server with the help of this private key. Okay, so that is the main concept of the SSH keys that you should understand. So in the next video, I will show you how to SSH onto an actual EC2 instance, and also in the next video, I'll show you how you can generate this SSH key pair from the AWS console. Then I'll also show you where exactly on the remote server, where exactly on the EC2 instance this public key is stored, and how you can download this private key on your laptop. So those kind of things I will explain in depth on the next video. So next video would be a pure hands-on video. Now, if you want to read about this SSH keys more in detail, then you can check out this on our website as well. So on the website, you can just go to codedex.com and just look for this blog article where I have explained how SSH works internally and what are SSH keys. You can just read about this in depth, where I have also explained what is the authentication process, how it works. So that's all in this video. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.